So last Sunday, May 4th, the Houthis attacked Israel again, and unfortunately, they actually hit uh, Israeli airport. Now, luckily, no one died. We sort of got away, at least relatively. Although Israel is still suffering. I mean, pretty much all non-Israeli airlines are still not flying. All the flights are being canceled. I mean, I was at the airport and McDonald's was completely empty. It was like ridiculous to see how little people were there. Um, and yeah, so, but we got a pretty strong response, Israeli American joint response to the Houthis, where we bombed the hell out of their first port, then the airport, and I think did pretty much both of them are not pretty much effective to work at this point. But despite that, the Houthis have actually attacked Israel like earlier. I think Wednesday with the drone attack. Today there was another missile attack. So despite the fact that there was a response, it looks like the Houthis are still continuing. And on top of that, Trump is making a deal. They made a deal with the Houthis, basically as part of it, the Houthis would stop attacking American ships. But it was a bilateral deal, meaning Israel was completely left out. Israel didn't know even it was happening. And as part of it, Israel was not even mentioned, meaning if the Houthis want to keep attacking Israel, as they did today, they are free to do so. And they were explicitly said that basically both Houthis said right after the deal said, yeah, we will continue attacking Israel. And also today, uh, yeah, basically, welcome to the Daily Objective. Joining me today is James Valiant. James, what do you make of this sequence of events? I mean, it's still crazy the Houthis are still alive. Like that is the biggest thing, is the fact that, this tribe somewhere in Yemen is attacking international shipping, is attacking, and despite the fact that, we hit them, they are able to respond right back.
Mr. Trump is like, his America First policy, America First, America First. And this is, what he has in his head is not real self-interest. This is a classic for objectivists to understand. What he is a short-term, one of these old-fashioned egoists who didn't think about their long-term, thought of their interests in conflict with everyone else's interests. And so the way Trump looks at it is, look, if you don't hit Americans, as long as you don't hurt Americans, we will have this ceasefire deal with you, Houthis. Now, wait, so they can attack Israel. He doesn't realize that American interests are aligned here with Israel in this respect. So any attack from the Houthis on let me just say, any attack from the Houthis on anybody in the Red Sea, anybody in Israel, any aggressive action on the part of the Houthis was the problem. If you give them conditional permission under certain circumstances to keep attacking, and Mr. Trump, that's what you've done. You've given them conditional permission to keep attacking Israel. You have stabbed our ally Israel in the back. You've betrayed the cause of fighting Islamic aggression. And so he says, okay, so long as you don't, attack us, Americans, this is a short-term, narrow, tribalistic view of what American interests consist of. It's that short-term, unprincipled, whim worship, subjectivist kind of egoism that you get from a Nietzsche or a Hobbes or something, not a long-term, principled advocacy of America's interests, because American interests are not furthered by allowing the Houthis to do any aggression whatever. But it's perfectly consistent. It's a perfectly consistent part. Is a wonderful piece with how he's dealing with Iran. You'll notice J.D. Vance yesterday said, "Oh, everything is just going wonderful. Couldn't be going more wonderfully with the negotiations with Iran. Negotiations with Iran. Okay, so what concessions is Trump getting prepared to do with an agreement with Iran that won't be much different from the one that Obama struck? Now, fortunately, there are Republicans in the Senate who are objecting to this whole thing, and that Iran can't have this and can't have a civil nuclear program, can't do this either. But instead of looking at America's long-term interests that go beyond his short-term, narrow political interests. I created peace. I got the Abrahamic, I see Saudis. Oh, I got the Saudis to, if I have to insult and betray Israel, I'll get the Saudis to agree to expanded Abraham Accords. I'll have peace with Iran. Americans will be protected from the Houthis, however much the Houthis continue to attack others, including Israel. And it's the same with Ukraine, by the way. He has no idea. If it's not in America's interest to stop Russian aggression, then why are you even concerned about peace here? Why do you want, it's just some abstract issue about peace? You want peace? You want to be looked at like a peacemaker and get a Nobel Peace Prize or something? No. Mr. Trump looks at it in terms of his narrow, short term political interests. He's not looking for a peace that will last beyond his administration. Hey, these wars in Israel and Ukraine wouldn't have happened under me, he says, even though he absolutely sanctioned what Russia was doing in Ukraine after the Crimea invasion in Trump 1.0. So this is his narrow view of what America first stands for. In the long run, it means America last. That's all it can mean. It's short term. It's not really America first. It's Trump's political advantage first is really what the most I can piece together here. But it's absolute madness, a betrayal of Israel, a betrayal of civilization, typical of his willingness to negotiate with anyone on earth, his inability to see what the problem with aggression, Islamic aggression or Russian aggression really is, the threats to the whole world and American interests that they are.
Yeah, and it's not even because you talked about sort of the egoism, but completely sort of like selfishness without the self. Like he doesn't
Exactly.
actually have the ability to even think about what is good. But even that's not because there is like such a little like vision, like wanting to govern. Let's go to one of the quotes from the U.S. ambassador to Israel, which was really funny because I remember in one of the Israeli newspapers, I think it was National News, they talked about how so the Mike Huckabee is the U.S. Ambassador to Israel. He has been appointed not that long time ago. I think like 2 weeks was when he was finally confirmed, and there was an article talking about how, well, we couldn't get Maccabi, but we got Huckabee. Maccabees were, of course, the Jewish sort of rebels to sort of like the what followed the Macedonian Empire. So it was like a Jewish fighters who stood up against an empire, and it's really funny because let's go to the quote he said. The United States isn't required to get permission from Israel to make some type of arrangement that would get the Houthis from firing on our ships. So
Was it just
like,
our ships, Ambassador Huckabee?
yeah, like
I mean,
let me just,
Ambassador Huckabee is his new main diplomatic voice in the Middle East. He's our ambassador to Israel, our real ally there. And Huckabee is saying we're going to cut a deal anytime we want to protect just Americans against Islamic aggression, which is uh, not just a threat to Israel, by the way, but the entire region, of course. They're allied with Iran. They're part of Iran's mighty tentacles of power. But it's instead of going for what's really in our long-term interest, okay, well, if this, if Trump doesn't have to deal with a headline that says Americans injured or dead, he'll betray anybody. And that's how he thinks of America first. That is not America first. That is America's long-term interests last.
yeah,
But
and
Huckabee said it straightforwardly.
yeah, and the way he says it, the United States doesn't is not required to get permission from Israel, and it's like that's something you would hear from like an abusive ally or like an abusive relationship. Like, yeah, like technically you don't, but what the hell are you doing? It's like if somebody like really screws you over somehow, or I'm trying to like think of, yeah, basically goes behind your back and does something and they respond, whoa, do I not even have my own choice to do something? And it's like, yeah, you do, but not to screw me over. Like, what are you like talking about here? Because this is exactly like Israel didn't know that this is happening. Somebody in the chat is saying if the Houthis retracted their surrender, then the deal falls apart. it wasn't a surrender. It was just you stop attacking us, and as part of it, or Israel was not even part of the deal. So if Houthis continue attacking Israel as they did today, as they did on Wednesday, that's perfectly fine with the deal, unless sort of America goes back on the deal. But if America goes back on the deal, it wasn't because the deal was broken. It was because maybe they finally realized it was a really bad deal.
Yeah, we just have had attacks from the Houthis on Israel. It came close to the control tower at the airport. People were injured. A missile was followed up. Now, it's true Israel has good defenses, but look at what really happened. There was an explosion at the airport near Tel Aviv. It's absolutely insane. Keep it up. Do what you like. Do what you like in Yemen. Do what you like against any other regional power. Do what you want against Israel. Just don't hurt an American. So now that, I mean, obviously the Houthis, as they continue their attacks on Israel, would be taking a chance. Well, what if an American, an Israeli American or an American tourist got hurt or killed in Israel? Well, I think it'd be probably worth it to them to take that chance. But it doesn't protect Israel. It doesn't protect anyone. It doesn't even protect Americans who might be in Israel. So it's
Yeah,
nonsense.
like do we only do something after they get killed, after Americans? Like
Right. How
I'm
many
not sure.
Americans
Yeah.
need to get hurt? How bad do they need to be hospitalized? Do they need to be killed? Is there a number of Americans? I mean, the whole idea is a total compromise with an aggressor. And that's the principle here. You do not negotiate with an aggressive dictator, do you? It cannot be in your interest. It can only thwart America's interest. And yet this will go under Trump's banner of America first. See how I'm protecting the interests of Americans. No, you need to broaden your scope there and broaden your timeline there, Mr. Trump, because attacks by a dictator against our allies, they're just waiting. Believe me, when that if they succeed here, they will continue to attack America. You're just giving them breathing space, in effect, because the attacks on the Houthis were hurting the Houthis. What you do is you keep attacking them until they're pounded into submission so that they can't attack Israelis or Americans or cause any more trouble in the region, like against international shipping. I mean, what on earth is he thinking? It's not thought, is it? It's short term, cosmetic, typical Trump.
Uh, we have someone in the chat saying, "I thought the Houthi missile hit the orchard outside the airport, the one you end up circling around looking for entrance to the parking lot." Yeah. So when we like it it was obviously aimed at the airport, and luckily it didn't hit anything significant. But yeah, it was sort of headed towards the airport, and yeah, hit sort of the area of the airport. Um, but
And
it
it's
shouldn't be
affected
it shouldn't be taken as like, oh, nobody died or sort of
no,
nobody
and
was
it's
hurt.
affected flights, as
Yeah,
you pointed out.
yeah, yeah, and yeah.
It injured people, affected flights, and came close to the tower, as I understand it, the control tower. Now, wait a minute. That's an attack on Ben Gurion Airport, the major airport in Israel.
The
That
only.
is, I mean, come on, please.
We have a well. First, somebody was saying, "Why are you hating on Trump? This is a loser behavior on channel." Look, I don't like doing these shows. Because I was a big anti-Trump guy. The fact that I have to like go on the show every day and keep like I want to talk about positive things. I want to talk about, you know, like declare war on Iran, do something in Iran, go help Israel to get rid of Hamas. Like do and like I'll talk about anything positive. I want to talk about positive things that happen. I like. Do you think I love? Do you think my sense of life is getting better with every day while Trump is in office? It's like a terrible state to be in.
Well, and I have to say that I have to eat my words about Trump. I thought he would be better when it came to Israel and the Middle East and Iran. I'm being more and more disappointed as every day. I don't say this with any joy or happiness. He said there would be hell to pay in Gaza if all the hostages weren't released. There's still an American and other hostages we believe might be alive. And guess what? No hell. Here we are more than 100 days into Trump's administration. And this promise was made way back before he was elected, at the day he was elected. And where was the hell to pay in Gaza? Nowhere. He said he would blow Iran to smithereens. Now, at Iran proxy, the Houthis have continued their attacks on American ships and international shipping in the Red Sea, as well as continuing their attacks on Israel. What has he done to Iran? He's negotiating with them, and his vice president says, "Oh yeah, everything's just going swell with the negotiations." That was just yesterday. So I am bitterly disappointed that Trump is not living up to his fiery rhetoric that he gave about Hamas and Iran before he was elected and in the early days of his presidency. This is not good news. I'm not happy to report it. I wish it had been otherwise. I wish he'd been more in line, his behavior had been more in line with the promises he made. You know, one of the things that Trump supporters say in this country is, you see, promises made, promises kept. He's doing everything he promised to do. Not in this regard. Not in this regard. He has let everyone down on the idea that he would be somehow militarily aggressive when it comes to Iranian proxies and Iran itself. He has not been.
Uh, some people in the chat are talking about the American interests and what American interests are there in Yemen. Again, like this idea that America should be just some sort of like island isolation is not engaged with the world. The fact is that America is the guarantor of international shipping. It is something it has earned, and it is something that I think is great for America. The fact that international trade is possible is only thanks to America. It's only thanks to American naval supremacy and complete supremacy on the seas as well as around the world. If that is something you want to give up, then okay, say that, but realize that what that would mean. It would either mean that international shipping, as it is today, would no longer happen because any terrorist, any dictatorial government would simply destroy or do whatever they want, and they wouldn't. There would be no consequences for it. If you want that, then say so. But it's not the kind of world that is beneficial to Americans. I'm not talking
Well,
about the world. I'm talking about Americans.
exactly. Mr. Trump does not see the net gain to international trade generally, does he? You can see it in his tariff policies. He doesn't see trade. Look at the deal we just cut with the United Kingdom. Still 10% built in. And they said that's a low baseline for all these other deals he wants to make. He loves tariffs. He doesn't want trade. He doesn't think America needs trade. He doesn't think America needs trade. That's why he can be aggressive in his posture about tariffs. He does not understand America's long-term interests, even its economic interests, much less its security interests. But when American ships get attacked, when commercial shipping gets attacked through one of the most critical trade routes in this world, through the Suez Canal, the whole point of building that Suez Canal was to make it easier for Europe and America to trade with South Asia and East Asia. How much trade goes between Europe and South Asia goes through that shipping channel? It is critical to America's interest. The world's economic vitality is critical to America's interests. And if he can't, I mean, we're not talking about defending some country where America has very little connection or interest. We're talking about international trade itself. International trade itself is something that Trump does not see is in America's advantage. He does not see how America's interest, how America has a stake in continued trade in the world. A world with less international trade is just ducky as far as he's concerned. And so, no, he does not understand what American interests are if he allows the Houthis to continue this, even if it's just Americans if it's just Americans. Wait, it's true that America does most of the defense there, but wait a minute here. We have an interest there in protecting all international trade going through the Red Sea. It is a critical shipping channel. How much of the trade between South Asia and Europe goes through that channel? To the advantage of every free country in this world. Trump is an idiot when it comes to America's actual international interests.
Somebody says only about 3% of US trade transits through the Suez Canal. And I love this kind of rhetoric. People said, like Trump said it about Canada, that Canada is not a big US trade partner. And somebody said, well, it's only 15%. 15% is like $1 trillion. The 3% is like hundreds of billions of dollars. The idea that you would say, oh, it's a small number, so who cares? That's if it was 1%, it would be like a huge thing to lose. Like that's like to lose. Imagine if America lost 3% of its GDP. That's like we are panicking about what the hell is going on. And the fact that
And
we
look
are,
at this is zero-sum thinking that would put Marxists to shame, isn't it? The fact that it's only 3% of America. Now let's slice that right out of context. Okay, 3% is very significant, as you point out. If it was 1%, it would be significant. But think about this too. We have important trading alliances with the EU and with Great Britain. Now, important trade, they are tremendously dependent on this through. Now, do you think how economics is interconnected? Mr. Trump needs a lesson in economics 101. Do you think that the world's trading system is disadvantaged? Well, if so, then our ability to trade in a robust way with our European allies is affected. Our ability to trade with our South Asian allies is affected. Is that the kind of short-term, narrow, context-dropping? That is exactly what I mean by a narrow, short-term, range-of-the-moment idea of what your interests are. What is in your self-interest? Actual, long-term self-interest. If it's, you know something, if it's only 3%, that's a sad comment on America. You know, we should be doing more trade. And if America was engaged in more international trade, it would be better for America. But Trump doesn't see that at all. I want that 3% to go up to higher, perhaps. I mean, why are we dropping the context here? Well, international trade is good for America. America is rich, but how did we get rich? Because we trade with the world. We engage with the world. How is the world rising out of poverty in recent decades? Because there's international trade, because America and Europe and Japan trade with other countries. That is what has lifted the whole world out of poverty. You don't think America has an interest in that? Of course it does. Our interests are aligned with other countries. Mr. Trump can't see that. It's a zero sum. All interests are in conflict with one another interest. You say, well, this is only 3%. We could afford to, suck it up on 3%. Once you do that, the whole principle is chucked out the window. And in the long run, you'll be saying, well, who needs any trade at all? Who needs any international trade, whatever? Because it'll shrink, believe me, with this kind of trade policy. No, again, we have to think long term in terms of our economic thinking. And that is something Trump is incapable of doing, apparently. He sees America's interests, America first, as envisioning only American citizens. That's all we should care about. To hell with anybody else in the whole world. And when you say that about Israel, what you're saying that about is the frontier of civilization, America's only true ally in the region. It's despicable.
we have a super chat from PC. Thank you so much. He says, James, actions speak louder than words. I wish Trump made some actions. We have a super chat from PC again. Thank you so much. He says, I was so hopeful, James, when I was watching the inauguration from Philly in January. Now my hopes are fading a bit. I was skeptical from the start, but I wish I wasn't. Well, I
Wise to
wasn't
think.
even proven right because it's much worse than even I was thinking of.
Well,
So
that's the thing. He didn't live up to his rhetoric. I mean, you were wise in seeing past it as just rhetoric. It could be just Trumpian bluster and hot air, and I think that has to be borne in mind because so much of him is bluster and braggadocio, and So come on, we can now we have good concrete. I mean, maybe he'll surprise me. Maybe he'll go out for an all-out, take out the regime, attack on Iran, take out the regime there. But that would truly surprise me because he has not lived up to his braggados.
we have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. And a super chat from Bulmus. Thank you so much. He says, it may be an American interest, but they don't have a defense pact. Maybe that was something to do with Trump's decision. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, I wouldn't say it's in American interest to ever surrender or make any deal with terrorists. They don't have a defense pact. If you mean Israel, I mean, technically, I guess not. Well, Israel is not a part of NATO. There are some sort of like deals. There are some things in place. I'm not sure if straight out. I don't think a straight up defense pact is anything.
It's not
But
like
we're yeah.
NATO, where any attack on Israel means America has to go to war. Maybe we should have such a defensive treaty with Israel. Maybe that would be a good idea and would scare away attackers. But no, The anti-Israel lobby would object to that. But have we been close trading partners, close diplomatic allies? Have we been interacting? Have we been selling and giving Israel weapons to fight their wars? Yes, we have. And why? Because Israel is an island of civilization. They are the most pro. I mean, you think about in the world, America is. It is true. America is the most pro-Israel country in the world, and think about that when you look at Trump's policies. But Israel is the most pro-American country, maybe one of the most in the whole world. So we are interconnected with Israel in a deep way. We do have defensive arrangements, even if we don't have a NATO-like trade deal, defensive deal with them, which we maybe should have. Maybe that would scare off further attacks by people like the Iranians. But we don't. Our interests and Israel's interests should be aligned in this way. And the bottom line point is you don't make a deal like this with an aggressive jihadist dictatorship like the Houthis. It's not in America's interest ever to cut any deal with terrorists, as you say, aggressive, dictatorial, uh, terroristic entities. I don't see what America could possibly gain from it. I don't see what Western civilization, what the interests of the West could possibly have, or the interests of Israel could have. And guess what? In issues like this, our interests are aligned with every other liberal leaning country on this planet. When it comes to aggressive dictators, when it comes to jihadist violence, our interests are aligned with those of the United Kingdom, Israel, Canada, Denmark, every other country that Trump is busy insulting and disconnecting our interests from.
Yeah, and for people in the chat arguing for American interests and it means making deals with the Houthis, one of my favorite quotes is, "You might not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you." And I would translate it to, "You might not be interested in the Houthis, but Houthis are interested in you." Here is their slogan: "God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam." So if you think that somehow Houthis will just want peace with Americans after they make this deal, you are disillusioned.
Yeah. Well, Iran has the same policy, right? Israel first, and then the great Satan America next. And they're just an agent of Iran. No, and here he is, cutting deals with the Houthis. He's negotiating with Iran. Yeah, think about it. Here you are negotiating with people who are calling for your death as part of their primary goal and built into their charters and constitutions, and he's cutting a deal with them. No, that is absolute madness. And it's all under the paradoxically, all under the banner of America First.
Well, with that, we are out of time, but we have the reality show coming up with a new article by the New York Times where they are talking about what the sneaky Jews are up to in the West Bank, as they say. So make sure to join us. They didn't use the term sneaky Jews. That's the term I interpreted from the way they've been talking about it. So make
Well,
sure.
it's an easy inference from reading the article.
Uh,
Yeah, join us.
So make sure to join us for that. It's starting about just a minute or so. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, James, for joining me, and bye bye.
Be safe.